Go.
Well, this is kind of fun. On the phone today with both Jen Coker from Cowboy State Daily and personal hero of mine, Lars Larson, out there in Portland. How are you, Lars?
I'm doing very well, Dan. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you guys. We've been talking a little bit about DB Cooper, and I'm going to do a little bit of a tease for this. You and I are going to do a little bit more research, but you have followed this case for how many years, Lars?
Well, I did my first stories on DB Cooper, obviously, as a reporter when I became a reporter in the Northwest about 50 years ago. And then about 30 years ago, I did a long form piece for our news magazine, Northwest Reports. And we talked to Bernie Rhodes and Russ Callum, who I think wrote the definitive book on who really was DB Cooper. And as you've been telling people, it was Richard Floyd McCoy.
Without a doubt, your opinion is, and how always has been, Richard. Who do you think DB Cooper was?
Richard Floyd McCoy, absolutely 100%.
Exactly. And all this came to light because of the excellent work of Jen Coker, Cowboy State Daily. Jen, tell us how this, you actually saw my videos and reached out to me to write a couple of articles less than a week ago or something like that. Now, how did all that happen?
Well, 3 years ago, I reached out to you, Dan, after I saw your first video. I was super intrigued by your research and the thoroughness, and I wanted to follow up with you. And of course, when you just released your third video, I thought, and I found out you had the parachute, I thought, I want to talk to this guy again.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate your work. You've been very diligent in your research. One of the few journalists who have spent a lot of time researching it, and your two articles in Cowboy State Daily were very well written. And notice what it did. I have seen your story replicated in no less than 50 publications worldwide. Every place I go, it says Jen Coker, Cowboy State Daily.
Well, thanks, Dan, for helping me with the story and lending your expertise.
Well, I appreciate it. Great job. And Lars, I look forward to speaking to you soon for your show. Tell me a little bit about your show on the West Coast. When can people hear it? How do they find it and all that stuff?
I do two radio shows. Both are syndicated. One is for the Pacific Northwest, that's Oregon, Washington, Idaho. And the second one is a national show that's on all the way from Honolulu to Maine. And what I do every day is talk about the news of the day. So about 3 hours Northwest, 3 hours national, and we talk about everything from the president of the United States down to local stories that resonate. So, and I love taking phone calls. So I've been doing this for a long time, almost 50 years in radio, and about 30 years in talk radio. I call it talk journalism because I clearly put my opinions in, but I'm still a reporter at heart. I don't say anything on the air I don't absolutely believe is true. And Dan, credit to you for pursuing this, because I've spent decades hearing from people saying, you're wrong about Richard Floyd McCoy, it's somebody else. And I said, no, this is it. And you may be the person whose actions actually cause the rest of the country to acknowledge it was Richard Floyd McCoy who bought that airline ticket under the name of Dan Cooper.
I definitely caused the FBI to sit up and pay attention and call, and the steps that they have taken in the past have been unbelievable. And their current request to exhume the body in order to get this final conclusive piece of data that they have to have is just amazing. I think that is eventually going to happen in the future at some point. Lars, tell us where viewers can find your radio show, both on the internet and the AM radio dial. Where are you?
Well, I'm on about 170 stations nationwide. In the Northwest, there are about 25 in the Radio Northwest network. And of course, they can stream it free of charge at our website, which is larson.com. It's spelled O-N the way God intended, not E-N. God bless the Norwegians, but I have Swedish ancestors. So they can find it at larson.com. You can find it on Alexa. The show is available on a number of streaming platforms, but the best way to get it without any problems is larslarson.com.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on an interview. You and me together, we're going to do this, the Rich Floyd McCoy thing. What do you think?
I think that's a fantastic idea. It'd be a pleasure to have you on because you know, and I'd be the first to admit, you know the case better than I do. I mean, as a journalist, I was glad to use the work of Callum and Rhodes decades ago, and I'm great. I'm going to be grateful to pick your brain on this subject because you know the details top to bottom.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to every location. I've been to both flight attendants' homes. I've been to the co-pilot's home. I have interviewed Ralph Himmelsbach in his home. I've been to every single place that you can. I've got video footage in DB Cooper Part 1, 2, and 3. In my opinion, it's down to the FBI. If they want to fly right and do the ethical thing, the proper thing, and close this once and for all and be done with this, they could wash their hands of this. I especially think with our new presidential regime coming in, a new FBI has now been named. I think my prediction is probably our new FBI director is going to want to clean house and say, look, forget it. The old FBI, we made some mistakes in the past. Obviously, some errors were made. We apologize. That was then. This is now. Let's close this case once and for all and move on.
You know, Dan, you're right. Confession is good for the soul. Maybe it's time for the FBI to finally do a mea culpa on Richard McCoy and DB Cooper.
They could have it over and done in less than 10 minutes if they wanted to. And I'm holding out that I'm holding the FBI's feet to the fire to do the right thing here. We're tired of messing with this. We're tired of hearing about it. It's over. The whole thing is really simple. It's a very simple, easy explanation. Richard Floyd McCoy hijacked 2 airplanes, and that's all that happened.
Yep, he put lives at risk, and I think the FBI, through its screw-ups, compounded that, because it's their job to investigate and find the truth. And in this case, they've spent half a century not finding the truth.
It's quite the story. Jen and Lars, thank you very much. I'll include this as a little teaser on my channel for both the Cowboy State Daily and Larson at Large.
That's right. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
I guess there's one person at your agency who's been assigned to kind of look into this on an official basis.
Yes, that would be myself and my partner. We're the ones kind of running point on this at this point.